What It Takes to Be an Ace with Chris Stelzig of the Entomological Society of America, all on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, here every week discussing all things pest. And do we have an exciting podcast for you today? I have Chris Stelzig of the Entomological Society of America. We're going to be discussing what it takes to become an ACE, an ACE, an Associate Certified Entomologist, folks. And that's pretty cool, considering there's only about 1,000 of those awarded worldwide. And so the most current recipient was the 1,000th. And I've actually been looking, I've talked about this before, to becoming an ACE and getting certified. I think it's a worthwhile experience. But before that, I want to thank some people that have been following us, liking our stuff, and listening to us on the Pest Geek Podcast. I got Shamus Briu, and I apologize. I know that I just butchered your name, but I think you know who you are. Pacific Pest Solutions in Aldgrove, British Columbia, following us on Facebook. We thank you so much for that. Greatly do appreciate it. And then also we got Moms vs. Bug, Mom vs. Bug at Mom vs. Bug, based in urban suburbia, California. Mom vs. Bug explores that most modern yet timeless of fights, the war against bugs, bed bugs to be exact. Pretty cool tweeting going on there about bed bugs and about how to prevent them and how to identify them. Really cool stuff. Check them out. Really neat. Just remember, guys, that your reviews matter. It matters to a lot of people, especially those ranking the podcast and us. So go ahead wherever you are. If you're on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you find yourself listening to this podcast, hey, give us a review, give us the stars you think we deserve, and comment on it, because it does help the podcast expand and grow. So thank you for those of you who are doing that, liking our stuff, sharing it, and tweeting about it. I really do appreciate it. Remember, stay on top of NPMA. We want to get those iTunes. We want to get those classes that are available. Get them, listen to them. We don't all get to go to a lot of events. I know a lot of the techs out there who are working, who cannot give up 3 or 4 days to go to a conference. They cannot afford the couple $1,000s that it will take for them to travel to go to one of these conferences. But in this day and age, we do have the ability to get training on demand, and that it would be one of the ways to do it. So we keep encouraging them to do something like that. And if you want to join the conversation, 707-395-7378 is the phone number to call. Also, if you want to join the society, hey, go to the member section. We got some stuff in there that is for members only that we're going to be putting out as we're able. But it's for members only. It's exclusive, and you'll be able to just get in on it. It's free. Membership is free. And so take advantage of it. I want to talk about cool products that I found in the UK. I mean, a lot of stuff comes out of the UK that we don't have available here, and vice versa. But I think they put out something that, at least it made me think, and it should make you think when you see something that's being done, of what can be done here, because they've got way more strict, as far as products that they use and products available to them. A lot more strict than we do, and they have to deal with bed bugs just like we do. And I saw this product. It's called Bioprin BFS 6EC for bed bugs and fleas. And I said, what is this that they're using? It's by a company in Hungary that makes it. And the product, when I looked at it, I said, man, this is interesting. It's basically S-methoprene, which is an insect growth regulator. It's now just rolled off the tip of my tongue and escaped my brain. not Precor, but it's made by Zoecon, and they make a product for flea control and for roach control, and it's S-methoprene, and I'm thinking of Precor for some reason in my head, but anyway, it'll hit me, and at 4.81 pyrethrins. So they're using pyrethrins, not pyrethroids, but pyrethrins, natural. And then they added a 10.17% piperonyl butoxide, which is PBO. It's a synergist. And they also added the MGK 264 synergist, which is one of the synergists in bedlam. So I wonder, there's always the talk is, hey, do insect growth regulators, IGRs, work for controlling bedbugs? Where apparently it does. They've done some studies in Europe, and I've got the efficacy of S-methoprene against Cymex lecterius hemiptera bedbug. And the conclusion of the data presented that here indicates that the exposure to bedbug nymphs to appropriate dosage of S-methoprene will completely prevent the development of fertile adult insects. So it does work, and they show the pictures of the deformed in the hatching and the deformity of the bodies. So if you're doing bedbug control, adding an IGR will help with the prevention of those becoming adults. So there is a study. I got a link to it. Check out the study. I think it's worthwhile to look at stuff that people are doing, across the globe, not just here in the U.S. But the study is really, really cool. It's got a complete detailed pictures and everything. Check it out for yourself. Take a look and see if it's worth adding an IGR to your bedbug program, and even adding the PBO, because you can get PBO. You can get it and add it to your product in a pyrethrin, and adding this, and you can make a formulation that is doable with this kind of combination. So check it out for yourself. Take a look at it. I got a link to both the product and the study. And without further ado, I want to introduce Chris Stelzig to the program. Hey, Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to, big fan of what you guys do. And, I get a lot of your tweets, and I follow your blogs, and, on a weekly basis, everything you guys put out. I just found it for me. I always talk about it on the podcast. Usually once a week, I get something from you that I can use on the podcast to educate the audience on what's going on out there. So I really do appreciate what you guys are doing. I wanted to ask you, so the audience can get to know you, how did you get involved where you are now?
Sort of my long and winding road to the Entomological Society. So it's funny, I actually came. I got here the old-fashioned way. I applied for this job as an ad out of the newspaper back when that was still a thing. But I've been working for the Entomological Society since 2000, so about 17 years now, and I really, really like what I do, which is partly why I'm still here. I actually came here from the newspaper industry before this. My wife was a journalist, so yeah, I ran the advertising for the school paper at the University of Maryland, College Park, where my son actually goes right now.
Okay.
But before that, I worked for Gannett Newspapers. But I started here as the marketing and public affairs manager back when I still had hair. I'm completely bald now. Not all of it from the job. But I was sort of done almost everything that you could do for association management, except for publishing our journals. In the years since then, been in charge or at least closely involved with the certification programs from the beginning. And so when I actually left for a couple of years and started my own company and ran a database management company for a few years. And then was encouraged to come back on staff, which I did, and was delighted to run the programs from that point forward, which was in 2012, something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, the society, as you probably know, Franklin, is we're primarily a membership association for people who work with or study insects. Most of our people either have a PhD in entomology or are working toward one, and then we also have a lot of people who, like PMPs, like all of your listeners, just work with insects in some capacity, whether that be through structural pest control, or they're a crop consultant, or they work with stored product pests, or mosquito and other vector control, things like that. So while we mostly have people who, again, are degreed in entomology and are true entomologists, we do have a lot of folks who are related to that. And the certification program, which I know is what we're most interested in talking about here today, sort of grew out of that affiliation type of role, where we have a lot of services for people who study insects on a day-to-day basis, and then the certification program focuses on fulfilling the education, the training needs for people who work with entomology but aren't necessarily entomologists, and that's what the Associate Certified Entomologist program is really all about.
Okay, so what is the primary difference between an Associate Certified Entomologist and a Board Certified Entomologist?
Yeah, we get that a lot, and it's a great question. A Board Certified Entomologist we view as someone who has a degree in entomology and has gone through a voluntary training program and a credentialing program where they are certified. And what that means is a board-certified entomologist has taken 2 tests and passed them both. One is a core general entomology exam, and the second is going to be in an area of specialty of their choosing. We have 6 of them. 75% of our BCEs, which is the short for board-certified entomologist, about 75% of our BCEs are certified in urban industrial entomology, which, of course, covers the structural industry.
Right, okay.
So to apply for a BCE, you do have to have at least a bachelor's degree in entomology or a closely related discipline, something in the biological or life sciences. The ACE program, which is the faster growing and newer of the 2 programs, has only been around since 2004, whereas BCE started in the late 60s. Formerly was known as the, American Registry of Professional Entomologists, or ARPE.
Okay.
So there's like 490 or so. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but something like that of BCEs.
Okay.
And we're pretty proud this past fall to just cross the 1,000 mark of ACEs. It's been growing on average double digits since the program was introduced in 2004.
Yeah, I saw that.
So for an ACE.
Yeah.
I mean, what's cool about it is, ACE is perfect for a person whose life path has taken them to a more applied type of education and less academic that you might find in a college classroom.
Okay.
It's been perfect for people who get their training from the NPMA workshops or the state-based, region-based workshops, like NEPMA up in the Northeast Corridor, or the Southwest Pest Management Association, or Pest Control Operators of California, or even some of the international things like we've been working with recently, like I just went to a great show in India co-sponsored by the India Pest Control Association and also the National Pest Management Association. So it's people who work in the business, but their training again is more applied.
Gotcha.
You don't need a degree. That's what's cool about it. You don't need a degree. You don't need a background check. What you need is to be pretty good at your job, and you need to sign a code of ethics, which talks about your ethical standing. You need to pass the examination, which we feel pretty good about being the toughest test in structural pest control. This is not for the lighthearted. It's not for the majority of people in this industry. But I think it's for people who listen to your program, Franklin, people who really focus on raising their level of training so that they are the best in their given area.
Right.
If the customer's looking for someone who just comes out and shoots some chemical, that's not who we're looking to certify.
Right.
But if you're looking for someone, the customer comes out and they want someone who's going to focus on IPM and really dig in and figure out what the problem is and look for the solutions and not just come in to collect a paycheck. That's the kind of person that's going to excel at the ACE program.
Right. What does it take? What are other than the code of ethics? What does it take for them to qualify to take that exam?
Okay. So the qualifications are pretty simple to talk about, and they're tougher to do.
Okay.
What you need is fill out the application. That's very simple. Believe it or not, we are still a PDF application. We've been working on an online application for a while, and I think it's going to be done by about mid-year, but it's not ready yet. So we're pretty old school with that. You need application. You need 2 letters of professional reference, and they're going to focus on your ethical standing, your dedication to the industry, your management, etc.
Okay.
There's some money, of course. And then the hardest thing is, I skipped one. You also have to document that you've been in the industry for at least 5 years. So whether that be, telephone sales for the structural pest control industry, or actually out there, boots on the ground, digging under the houses, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Whatever, but 5 years is your minimum. The hardest thing is the test, but we do everything we can to tell you what's going to be on the test, other than giving you the questions.
Gotcha. So the person who qualifies to take the exam doesn't necessarily need to be a certified operator, a CPO, or a certified applicator. In the case of other states, they have different names for it. They can be a regular tech at a company who's been working and decides he wants to get this higher level of certification.
Yes and no.
Okay.
And I say yes and no because it depends on where you are.
Okay.
The program, and I'll be honest with you, Frank, I'm not sure if your audience is mostly here in the States or
mostly in the
internationally,
States,
but
yes.
Mostly in the States.
Yeah.
Okay, so then for most of your listeners, they would need to have an applicator's license,
Gotcha.
License in at least one state, tribal territory, or like a DOD kind of license, but license to apply pesticides without supervision or whatever is the highest level of certification available in your area.
Gotcha. Okay.
But internationally, because not all countries require an applicator's license, we don't require it of anyone. Instead, an international ACE shows their level of knowledge about pesticides and pesticide safety via a second examination.
Gotcha.
That focuses solely on pesticides.
Gotcha. And what does the test look like as far as how long does it take? What do they need to prep for? What books are they using and things like that? What helps them?
Sure. No, that's great. And the exam, we put the content outline online for free. And what a content outline is exactly what it sounds like. It tells you what the exam itself is going to be covering. It really hits 4 main topical areas, both for the international and for the domestic exam. And they are, the exam is about 45% covering inspection and ID.
Okay.
And so that's almost half the test. About a third of it, 28%, is selection and implementation of control methods. And then the remaining 27% is evaluation and monitoring. So those are what we call knowledge domains, or great big buckets of information. Now, the content outline then splits those topics up into individual skills. So, for example, in the inspection and ID domain, there are 4 different skills. They are inspect for evidence of pests, inspect for conditions conducive to pests, identify pests, and document and communicate findings of pest inspection and ID. So again, really big topics.
Okay.
Then the content outline breaks those skills into knowledge needed to accomplish the skill. And then the exam questions are easier, medium, or harder. So every single question on the exam slots into one of those topical areas. So when a person takes the test and gets their results, we, for those who are unsuccessful on their first attempt, we break the exam results down into those topical areas with easier, medium, or harder, and let them know how they did on each section compared to everyone else who's ever taken the exam. So they know, okay, I'm solid here, or I need a little bit more work on this area. And just allows them to tailor their studies a little bit.
Okay. So, and this covers what area of pest control? Is this lawn and ornamental? Is this structural? Is this termite? What does it cover?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
It's pretty broad ranging. We list all the different pests that are going to be covered on the exam. We not so much on lawn and ornamental. So I guess it's a no, yes, and yes to be more accurate. But all the different pests that are covered. One of the main topical areas is wood destroying insects or wood destroying organisms, even. So we'll let you know what pests are going to be covered. One of the most common questions we get, Franklin, is how much science is on the exam?
Okay.
Do I need to know, scientific names? And the answer is no, you don't. We will always list the scientific name, but for example, since a PMP, as they're talking to a homeowner, doesn't need to know that the common housefly's scientific name is Musca domestica.
Right.
We would list that, but then also just say housefly. And part of that is because, across the country and across the world, there are different common names for every different insect. Lacewing is one of those generic terms that covers 7 to 10 different insects. But so we always want to give the scientific information that's the most accurate, but the PMP doesn't need to know, we're not going to ask you, what does coleoptera mean?
Right.
You'll get that on the BCE exam, but not on the ACE exam.
Gotcha. Okay. Just make sure that I thought I lost you there. Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. I'm good.
So the way we describe the exam is tough but fair. The average score is about 73%. Passing is 75%.
Gotcha.
Now, what that means is there's an awful lot of people that are really close to passing.
Right.
We've never seen a perfect score, and I actually don't expect that we will. But we've seen some scores in the mid to high 90s.
Wow.
So there are some people that are really, acing through it and doing great. And the majority of people, again, are pretty close to passing. Our certification board, and that's the group that runs the exam, recommends that a person spend a minimum of 40 hours of self-study prior to taking the exam.
Okay. And what material do they use for this? What type of material?
So it used to be we had a stack of books that we would recommend.
Okay.
Anything from Truman to the PCT guides, to some books that we had published, to the Malice Handbook, some big weighty books.
Right.
Most of your people probably have these books on their shelf already, but it was a lot to ask a person to read. So we started thinking that we needed to have an official study guide, and we set out to write that.
Okay.
There's going to be one book for the whole exam.
Gotcha.
When we were writing that, we had a person on our staff who was a member of the National Science Writers Association, but not an entomologist. And then Mike Merchant out of Texas there, one of the founders of the program, actually. So those two worked together to write this book and put it together, pulling in industry experts from, Austin Frischman, a lot of, and so on, Jim Fredericks from MPMA, Ron Harrison out of Rollins, some names that everybody knows, pulled these together. And then what was great about it is it's really written in a very digestible tone.
Okay.
In other words, even if a person says, I'm not much of a studier, it's written in such a way that it's, to the greatest extent possible, it's pretty understandable and pretty readable for most people.
Gotcha.
What I've seen most people do is pick up this book. So the book is now called the IPM for the Urban Professional,
okay,
a study guide for the Associate Certified Entomologist. the original intent was to make one book for everything. But as we were doing that, we realized we were kind of rewriting NPMA's field guide, written by Smith and Whitman. So we backed off a little bit, and to make our book smaller, more affordable. So that now we recommend two books: NPMA's Field Guide to Structural Control of Pests, and our book, The IPM for the Urban Professional.
Okay.
So those are the two recommended books. And I think if a person really reads, studies, and understands what's in those books, you're in pretty good shape.
Gotcha. So what is the percentage of people that actually take the exam that pass it on the first shot?
Good question. I've actually not run that in a while. When I last looked at this, Franklin, it was somewhere around 40 to 45%.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where it is today, but I guess it's probably not too far off of that mark.
Gotcha.
I'm not trying to scare people off of it, but I do want them to be realistic that this is, it's something that once you get this in your rearview mirror and get your ace, you should be proud of it because it's something that you really worked for.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't handed to you. You really earned this.
Because if you get a certification that really anybody can get, what's the value of that?
Right.
You want something, I know James Rodriguez, who was on your program earlier this year, he's an ace. And I remember when I first met James, it was at a bedbug show in Las Vegas. And at the time, he's still with Eaton. He was with JT Eaton. He had a booth right next to me. And he and I were chatting it up. And he was saying, what does this mean? What's an ace? How's it go? And what's it mean? And I sort of said basically what I just told you. And he said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that. And even just talking to him for a little while, I knew that, this is a guy who's serious about his job, really cares about about the industry. And I don't know, I'm not going to say it's because he got his ace, but he's really worked up to the point that he's now the technical director of JT Eaton and, represents a very important role in the industry. And I think it just speaks to the fact that ace helps a person do their job better because it, whether that be because as you study for the program, you really, get more serious about your business, or if that's the kind of person that you were to start with. But it's a great way to help build your business. We have found over the years there's really three primary reasons a person gets their ace.
Okay.
And they are because number one, they want to be the best at what they do. You want to get that feather in your cap and say, whatever the top thing is in my industry, this is what I want to do. If you're an automotive mechanic and the best thing you can get is your ASCE or ASE certification, that's what you get. So that's type number one. Number two, it's the kind of person who is going to set a level of professionalism for their team. And they want to build it up and say, this is the kind of people we are. This is the industry that we represent. And when we go out to visit with customers, they need to know that this is who we are. We are we're the pest management professionals that focus on science, that focus on IPM. And then the third is related to that. It's marketing. If you, whether yourself or your business, it's a marketing tool to get more business. If you are looking to move up or to a different company, it's a way to help build your personal credentials. Whereas Quality Pro and some of the other programs are excellent, but also focused on the business, what ACE focuses on you as an individual and can help build you up as a certified pest control practitioner.
No, that is because I was going to ask you that question. I mean, because a lot of people say, well, why would I get, this certification? My job, I'm a tech. They're not going to, it's not going to get me a raise. It's not going to get me this. A lot of people are stuck in the industry. And I talk to a lot of people who feel stuck. And my attitude has always been, I'm regardless of whether the company that I work for appreciates it or not, somebody will. And it's always a way for me to maybe go and work for a better company, get a better opportunity. Everything I've ever done, it's because, I will strive to be the best regardless of whether the people around me want to be that. And that's just me as a person. That's just what I want to do.
Dude, when are you going to get your rates? You sound like exactly the kind of person we want.
Believe me, I actually talked about the program because I've got it incorporated in part of our training program where I want people that come work for us to get their Purdue certification, to get all of their certificates through there. I want to hire and I want to train the sharpest people in the industry. And that's who I am. I even after I became in this, I got my horticultural certification because my specialty is in lawn and ornamental. And I wanted that certification because there was nobody in Florida who had it. And I got it. So, that's what I'm going for next. And I'm actually going to prepare because I already have enough qualifications to get it. It's just a matter of being able to put the time in to get it. Because I noticed that you give these tests throughout the country in different events. I noticed there's an event, I think, going on in Jersey, coming up where they're going to be, you guys are doing a testing there that day, at that show. So how is it that people get to take the exam in their local area?
So that, we actually do this differently than almost everybody else.
Okay.
So the way we have always worked our program is every exam is administered by a proctor. Okay. And a proctor, for those who don't know, is just someone who sits there and makes sure you don't cheat. So yes, you've got a code of ethics that you have to sign, but just, for the appearances of integrity, we have every single exam proctored. Now, that might be a one-on-one or it might be a group setting. Okay. You're right. I'm going to be in Atlantic City next week, I think it is, for the NPMA Eastern meeting. And so we'll sit there. Whoever's taking a test that day, they'll sit. I'm in the room with them, but it could be anybody else that's serving the proctor. And they sit down, take the test. The proctor gives them the username, password, and the URL to which the person is going to log in. All of our exams are computer-based.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they take the test online, 150 questions. You've got up to 3 hours for the U.S. version and up to 4 hours for the international because it's 2 tests. At the end of it, you click submit, and your score is going to flash up on the screen so you know right away how you did.
God, that's awesome. So you don't have to wait.
It helps, just to sort of, you don't have to, sit around and wait through the weekend. They are listed as unofficial results, but I've been doing this for as long as I told you, and it almost doesn't happen that the unofficial results are the official results. So,
right. Okay. So, and how does somebody get to, if they want to sign up, they want to get this done, they want to put it under their belt, what do they need to do? Where do they go? Who do they call?
Well, great. I mean, so almost any NPMA show is going to have application opportunities there.
Okay.
You can also get it online at our website is entocert.org, and it's ENTOCERT.org.
Okay.
Click on ACE, and the first thing you're going to see is the application right there. So it's pretty easy to hit us. Go to the Entomological Society's website, and you'll be able to click through to certification and then get to the same place. We try to make ourselves as visible as possible. We try to go to as many different pest management shows as possible. In fact, I'm hiring a new person to work with me on this, and he accepted the job over the weekend, but I don't have an official letter yet, so I'm not going to divulge his name yet.
Okay.
but so he's going to become a pretty familiar face at pest management shows across the country, and around the world. NPMA's Pest World East is going to be in Dubai again this year, so he'll be going to that.
Oh, nice.
We go to Fayotma. Yeah, so wherever the big shows are, that's where we want to be. We've been to Purdue a bunch of times. You mentioned that. I think that's a great show. Gary Bennett and his crew put on an excellent show at Purdue. So wherever people are, that's where we try to be. And if you've got a show coming up that you think we ought to come to, in the next year or two, let us know, and we'll put that into our budget and try and make that happen.
Yeah, we're going to be at Expo in next week. This is actually coming up on Friday. This is down in Orlando, Florida. We're going to be at
Yeah,
Expo.
I know. I actually have never been to that one, believe it or not.
Okay.
But I know of it, and it's supposed to be a great show. So
yeah, I've been wanting to go for the last 2 years, and every time it's like, we're just so busy, and it's like, no, I got to make time to go over there, and we're going to be interviewing some of the people there, and while we're there and enjoying the show, and then we're going to enjoy go see a couple of parks with the kids and make it a vacation while we're there. I'm trying to get my wife also to become a certified operator for the business, and getting her trained now, and she's working in the field and things like that. So it'd be great for her to finally be able to work with me on that side of it. So
that's awesome. I mean, that's another thing I really love about this industry is that, the family model is so prevalent, and there's so many, second and third, and even some of these, fourth or fifth generation, owner operator types of businesses, and husbands and wives and children all working together. I love the familial aspect of structural pest control. I think it's just it speaks well for the types of people that work on it.
Yeah, no, I've tried, because she was doing something else, and she was getting her master's, and just Florida is just Miami is one of those weird places to be in, that you can have a high level of education, but there's only so many jobs that you can get here locally. And I said, let's do something, think out of the box, do something different, in her skills and what she's acquired. And, so now we're working on that process of getting her, back in school after she's finished, to do something different, but it's really interesting. And I enjoy, the teaching part. I enjoy the training part, and being able to do the selling and things like that. So, we're definitely working on something different, that we're doing here, but, I'm enjoying the process. Let me ask you this. What else does the Entomological Society do for a person? Because when you think of Entomological Society, you think of a bunch of geeks just looking at insects all day long, and there's a big what can the average tech get out of the Entomological Society? What can he do there?
That's great. And it's funny, because when I first started this job, I didn't know anything about insects other than stuff on them, right? So I've learned so much over the years, just by working here. And I'm not an entomologist. I'm not everyone, and I'm not even associate certified entomologist. I have everything I've picked up has sort of been just through my association with these people,
right?
Who are members of the society. And at this point I've got a number of people that I would consider fairly good friends that are members of the society, and it's all through their association with them and what the society does that I've been able to pick that up. Yeah, so to answer your question, what can an average person get out of membership in the society? About 25 to 30% of ACEs are also ESA members, and what they seem to get out of it is a couple of things. One, it's an association with the professional entomologist. So I mentioned earlier, we have a number of journals that we publish. Members can access those articles for free, whereas otherwise it's a subscription base. And all of this, I shouldn't say all, that's not fair, but a lot of the science that drives the structural pest management industry has been written about in our journals, or that research has been written by our members. So, for example, a couple of years ago, it came out that the bedbug foggers, are less effective than a person might think, and so that's why you need to turn to a PMP to really take care of a bedbug solution or problem. That research came out in our publications. A couple of weeks ago on your podcast, you talked about the new species of bed bugs that has come out here in the States. And, that's, again, it's stuff that's come out in right. our publications. So if a person who wants to sort of stay up on the science, affiliating with us, reading our journals is a pretty good way to do that. It also puts you in touch with other members from across the country who are the leading experts in the various aspects of the science. If you've got you need to get a hold of I don't know, like Zia Siddiqui, with Rollins Corporation. He's currently the director of our certification board. You're a member, look him up in the directory, shoot him an email. We're a great networking opportunity, both at the national, international, and local levels, where we have the various branch and regional meetings that we put together.
Right.
I know that you've also talked before about our Entomology Today blog, and that's a publication we put up. It's focused on the general public, but our intention with it is to take whatever is the latest in insect science news and present it in such a way that the general public can understand it and really make use of it. So sometimes we'll take journal articles that have come out and extract them in such a way that it's very understandable for everyone. And so you could then take these articles to your customers and say, look, here's what's going on. Here's the kind of problem that you have, and here's why it's an issue, and here's what we're going to do about it, solving this problem together.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a great resource, because when they see something that, a lot of customers think that we do pest control because we flunked out of everything else in life. And, the only thing we can do is use a can. And, that seems to be an attitude when we go in and talk to a lot of people. I don't take it personally anymore. I used to, but I realize they don't understand what we do and why they've already fogged, dusted, put pills out, bait, and everything, and they're still, inundated with bugs. And we'll go in and, in 30 days get it knocked out, and with very little effort of what they thought, what it would take. So I think it's vitally important that and we are getting a higher level of client that is calling us, especially for what we do in our business. They're highly educated. They do read. So if, it's a great way for you to be the better professional in your market, to be able to communicate on that level with your client.
You raise a great point, Franklin. I mean, the customer today is a very educated customer, and they've got a ton of different ways that they can be looking at, trying to figure out who they're going to hire. They look at, Angie's List, or, I'm blanking, Facebook or Twitter, or, one of the other dozens and dozens of options for figuring out who's the best person to call on. They've also done their own research. Again, there's most university extension offices have various tools they can put online that talk about what can you do to solve your pest problems. And so the customers have read some of that, and they're going to come in. They're going to know all about different pesticides that exist. Whereas 20 years ago, customer just going to call you up and hire you without having done any pre-research.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that.
You got to come in. You got to be, you got to know your stuff.
Yeah, you got to bring your A game.
If they know something that you don't know, you're in trouble.
Yeah, we just did a bed bug job, but we're going to get ready to do this morning when I'm done with this interview. And the customer called a bunch of people. Nobody could tell her how they were going to solve that problem. She's got cancer. She's had 2 heart attacks. They don't want the chemical in the home. The daughter's crying because she's getting bit. And, they're stressed, and they're, calling around to find, they're doing research. They went online to the university site. Her daughter's in college, and they said, this is the way the bed bug job should be done according to this. And everybody's saying they're going to spray. And the reason we were able to talk to them and get that job is because we told her this is the right protocol to use to solve that problem. It isn't one chemical. It's steam, it's vacuum, it's, monitoring. It's, you're in a building, things like that. And the customer said, you're the only one that's told me the truth. Everybody else, gave me a line. So, and people got to realize that you got to be much more educated today with the amount of information that's out there. You can't just get by with telling people, we're going to spray this or we're going to spray that, and that's going to solve the problem. They want to know why. And that's just, I think I get grilled by every customer that calls me because they're looking for something specific when they call us, and they've done their homework, and we've got to be, as far as being a tech, stay on that, killer edge.
Yeah. It's and I think we all want an educated customer. I think having your customer know something about what you're doing makes a lot of sense. because then you can talk to them from not really a peer-to-peer, but from a standpoint of education.
Right.
And since they've got a starting base already, you can help educate them further on what's important, why it's important. And when you talk about the latest developments in the science, they've already got some frame of reference on which to base their understanding of your comments.
Yeah, no, I figure that 80% of my job from the time I come in contact with the customer is training and education, more than what we're actually going to do. Once I get there and we inspect, we monitor, and we already know pretty much what we're up against. But it's that educating and training. We get a lot of people that, just by the nature of our business, who are in that position where they have a sick relative, or they have a really elderly person in the home, or they have a child with asthma, or they have a child with cancer. They're looking for us for that reason, because of what we provide. And they still have that worry, and that, what chemical, and I read about this chemical does this and this chemical does that. And they're talking about pyrethroids, and they're talking about neonics, and they've already done a ton of homework. And we have to basically set them at ease of how we're going to apply those chemicals in the home, because they don't want it everywhere, and where we're going to put it. And, what are the labels? We're getting calls now where we never got in 10 years, people calling and asking for the label of the products that we're using. Normally this was just reserved for high level facilities that we did. And they'd say, well, we need the labels, to have them on hand. Now the customer wants to know these labels. They're more educated. And I think we need to raise the level of the professionalism in the industry to that of a very highly skilled technician, just like an electrician, just like a nurse, just like to bring it up to that level in the industry. And that's what we're striving for here at the podcast.
Makes sense. Yeah. Good. Perfect.
Hey, man, anything else that you want to add? Anything I didn't ask you? Something that you want to communicate to the audience?
Well, I guess what I would just sort of close out with. Well, first off, again, thank you for the opportunity to chat, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. But also just to say that we are partnered with National Pest Management on this, and NPMA represents the industry, and they see the value in what we're doing with the ACE program and the BCE program. This is the future of this industry, both here in the States and internationally. And if your listeners are serious about their business and want to be the best at what they do, this is going to be the new benchmark for what a person has to have. So the sooner you get on and get aboard, the better for building a business. And in some places, we've only got like one person in the state still. Well, we've got 1,000 plus people ACE certified worldwide. I think we only have like one or two people in a couple of key states. So
wow.
It's pretty good opportunity to say, look, I'm the first in the city, in the county, and in some cases, the state. And like when I mentioned I was in India, promoting the programs there. At the time, I don't think we still have anybody. There's nobody in India that's ACE certified yet.
Wow.
So you get some opportunities for some people in some parts of the world to be able to say, dude, I'm the first one in the country to get the certification.
Wow.
So
yeah, no, that's it. Because I'm thinking there's a couple 100,000 techs in the country, and you just hit 1,000. I'm saying, man, that's an awesome opportunity for branding yourself and marketing yourself as a true expert in your field. In your county.
This isn't going away. The ACE program is built on the BCE program, and the BCE has been around since, as I said, since the late 60s. This is here to stay, and especially as other public insect-related topics, get even hotter. We had Zika this past year, and that's not going. You'll hear more about that in the next year, and just the various things that the society is working on with that. We are. The public is aware of insect-related problems, and the more that we, as people who work in the industry, can do to help educate them about this,
right.
through our certification, through the training, through the work that you do on this podcast, the better it is for everybody. So this society has something called entomology challenges, where we are looking at some of the world's problems From vector-borne diseases to sustainable agriculture, invasive species. So we are using our insect knowledge to try and make the world a better place. Insects are not the cause of a lot of the world problems. In some cases they are, but in some cases they're not. But they're always going to be related to the problems.
Yeah.
For example, with world hunger, insects destroy a large quantity of food every year, whether it's still on the crops, in the fields, or in stored products. So how can we, as the Entomological Society, look at some of these problems and figure out what do we do about it? So that's another thing, another strong focus of the society that we're working on. We also work on, we run the Entomological Foundation, which focuses on the K through 12 marketplace, STEM education. So in other words, getting kids excited about insects as a future career. So, it's like I said, I've been in this job pushing 20 years now, and I keep doing it because I like what I do and I like who I work with, both from on a staff perspective and the members at large. So I thank you for what you're doing. Let me know what we could do to help support you and your needs. And happy 2017, right?
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it, Chris. I really appreciate the time you've taken this morning and sharing all this with us. I really do. And I know the audience will too. Awesome. They're a really bunch of good guys who really love to do what is right. And they're going to be excited about this. So thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks so much, Franklin.
Take care, sir.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.